Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Obviously, as you can see, I have a fantastic invitee here, my cousin Bogdan, who is very knowledgeable in some subjects that I really, um, how should I put it? I'm trying to understand. But for this video, we're going to discuss three big topics. The one is going to be Biden's debacle. I have a little paper here with all this change and who could be behind all this Biden stay home, or who could be the next nominee for the Democrat Party. So that's the first topic, with subtopics as well, or with sub-subjects. The other subject or topic that we're going to have is with the so-called mainstream alternative media. And there is a migration that Bogdan and I noticed in the mainstream media personalities migrating towards the alternative media, now becoming mainstream alternative media. Actually, this is an expression coined by Bogdan. It doesn't belong to me. And the third one is going to be something that Bogdan is going to talk in detail because he has a lot of knowledge about it, and it is the democracy in France. What happened in France? What are the parties? What are the Mélenchons over there? Who's who, what's what direction the French democracy can turn. I said on many occasions that when I will discuss France overall, I will invite Bogdan because he's a Francophile with everything, with speaking French, reading their literature. He's very interested in their politics, unlike me in that department. So, Bogdan, thank you very much for accepting to come to my show. Tell us a few things. How have you been?
Oh, I was excellent lately. I was very happy that you visited Romania and you had such a great time. As I very well know. So now that you are back home, I think it's a very good situation that we are at the same time and we can have this video together.
Well. Just so you know, my friends, Bogdan really loves Romania. He's a Romanian patriot, or he would have no, if I'm not mistaken, Bogdan has no problems living over there. Isn't that right?
Yes. I think it's a very different way of living there, and you can see advantages and disadvantages. And as it's normal, I think when you are away for a long time, the ugly things tend to become less annoying, and the nice things tend to become as almost like a nostalgia. So for the moment, being away from Romania for 20 years, I feel more nostalgia. I'm not saying maybe if I'm staying there 10 years or even a few months like you, maybe it would change. But for the
Yeah.
moment, yeah, this is kind of how I feel.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. Unfortunately, we are, as you know, on two opposite sides, and I'm now even more on the other side like before. But nevertheless, let's start with the first one, which is Biden's debacle. As you guys know, Biden said, I'm out of the presidential race. And I decided that Kamala Harris, which I think she's just but it's a good example for who wants to see the level of, I was about to say Romanian, US democracy. Another person, I would say mediocre at best, is going to run for the US presidency. So we're going to discuss why this happened, why Kamala Harris is the one that supposedly is who's going to possibly be on a ticket with her, if they're going to have any primaries or is just going to be the next in line, who, Bogdan, you think is responsible for Biden's put to grass, and what could be the consequences of November elections in the US? So, Bogdan, I'm going to intervene. Tell me your take on all this.
I will go because you said I'm a fan of French culture, and there was Alexis de Tocqueville who wrote that amazing book, De la démocratie en Amérique, and he was at that time he was really looking up at how the new world organized themselves, and he said that as opposed to Europe at that time, people had pretty much almost control of about their selection of leaders at various levels, and he really appreciated that. And now I think the most concerning fact in this Biden's debacle is that you have a grassroots, you have the Democratic Party, who is one of the two parties. Really, it's not, you don't have 300 parties in the United States that are important, and pretty much all the Democratic voters were not allowed to select their leader for this election. So it's a bunch of oligarchs at the level of the Democratic Party that are making and changing the landscape. And I think this should be like, regardless if it's Obama or if it's Pelosi or it's whoever, the first question that the Democratic voters should ask is why we were not allowed to express ourselves, and in what way right now a Kamala or whomever would basically be selected by a very small
The
group of,
elites.
right, and then she or he or whomever will be promoted, and we will vote for them because we are entrenched. That, like, you see, the voters were entrenched in two categories, Republicans and Democrats. So as far, I think even myself, if two or three people would say, you represent Democratic Party, I would receive many votes. That's why I think it's very important, the process. How do I get to be the nominee? And all this Biden debacle is smells, because there is no process. They are just going to put somebody. The mainstream media and the mainstream alternative media will focus on the person instead of focusing on the process. How, why it's allowed. Actually, even the fact that the president that retires, he's basically pledging support. There is not such a process. We are not living into a aristocracy where I'm saying, oh, actually I like Emil, so if I'm retiring from this course, which I had
I
the right
decide who's the
now,
next in line.
yeah, you go. So that's pretty much, to me, one of the things that I would like to hear your opinion from being in United States, and what could be done about these type of things.
I think that the Democrat Party should have primaries. That would be, you allow your guys that were pre-selected to supposedly run against one another. But I think because Kamala Harris, if you remember last time in the primaries, she had less than 1% of the party, that less than 1%, and she was picked as a vice president. That tells you something, as Bogdan said, stinks. But why do you think that they decided now to have this guy gone? Do you think that debate, how these guys are called, that was not Bogdan? You know how a debate is. The American debates are not debates. I say this, and then you say this, and I say this. It's not like one another against, discussing and having. Why do you think right after that one they decided, oh, I think this guy should retire? Do you think that did it? The poor debate performance by Biden?
To me, it was it's a red flag, the way they covered for 3 years, and all the
I would say
whenever,
5 years.
yeah, whenever he fell, whenever he had off moments, and there were many, they were never in mainstream media, or they were presented from a different angle, or they were okay. And at one moment it was almost like a signal. Everybody became concerned. and it's to me, that debate was, he was not very different than how he behaved before. So and also I would like to say that Trump was not very good also, but
He didn't make mistakes. That was his in that debate. I don't think he made mistakes.
and he didn't even respond to most of the questions. He was almost like an old guy that he has his like, you asked me about the question and I'm still speaking about my views, but I don't answering. I think half of the questions Trump didn't respond, but they took from that debate 2 or 3 slippages of Biden, and all of them, they just focused on that thing. So to me, this means that there was a signal. Some There was a signal. The wind changed, and they wanted him out. Now, why? In the why, first of all, we can speculate. I read, for example, a number of articles that Biden fell down with Israel. In the moment in which he started to have doubts about, he wasn't full speed on helping Israel.
Supporting.
Yeah, yeah. And when I'm saying, it's when we discuss and we are tolerant, you allow me 50% and I allow you 50%. But with these guys, with Israel, you have only at most 1, because they have 99%, right? They are right. So I think Biden went to 10%, pushed back 10%, and he was
Too
suddenly
much, way too
too
much.
much. It was too much. So that's one thing. And I have some examples from Canadian politics too, but I don't want to enter. It was the same thing with Michael Ignatieff, a professor from Harvard. The first time he was presented as the next god in Canada, and he just was parachuted in the front, in the top of the Liberal Party. He said something about Israel, and suddenly all the mass media was down on him, and he didn't even won his seat. From the idea that he is a genius, he became like this. So that's one thing. Another thing regarding him would be that most likely they found uh, maybe there is another way to keep for 4 years, because they were able to cover for 3 years, but there may be some elders that met and said, is this guy, if he really wins, is he really going to
Yeah,
hold
but I
on?
had a vice president ready. Like since they're puppets, in my assessment, it was the first puppet and the second puppet. Any other reasons why you would think that now it became a problem?
So it's always you would always have to see who do you believe is in charge. Because if like, say, for example, I believe that it's the banking system, I would have to connect with what did Biden do to piss off the bankers. But I think as a method of thinking is, look always at these politicians as pawns, and some other interests are guiding them, and then they most likely pissed off somebody. Maybe he didn't do the right amount of spending on the military industrial complex in the last, and he also pushed back in something there, and they pressed, so he is out. And maybe, which is very consistent with sometimes, right? Maybe they have such bad polls that regardless of the debate, but such bad polls that they really realize that he cannot win, in which case they have to do something to put somebody else, so he wins or she wins.
Well, what's concerning, I think, is if you look at Biden and Kamala Harris more than Biden, these guys are not personalities. they are not, if they show up in the street, everybody go around him, oh my God, these guys are right here. They're not like sugar or like shit attracting flies. And they obviously promise to do everything what the guys that put them in a position of power, I think, on the paper, would do. Because if I look at Kamala Harris, I haven't heard her saying anything fantastic or done anything fantastic. But she could be the, let's say, the future American president. So I think that the party, that's one, what you said, I agree with that. Probably all this occurred. But I will also be a little bit more baboonish. And that is, the population, the voters, they needed some excitement. And the reason why is what? It's August, September, October, and then it's going to be November. If they would have changed this guy, it's about hype. It's like a little drug that wanes away. So now they got a new drug. They are, the other side, revigorated. Wow, who's going to be? I'm going to vote, yeah. Because with Biden, it was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. Yeah, well. And the mass media, as you said, oh my God, this is not there. All of a sudden, they realized he's not there, which signs were seen from 2015, if you ask me, if you just look all over. So I think they rejuvenated the baboons into going and I'm gonna go and vote. Yeah, who's gonna be Michael? I mean Michelle or Kamala or both on the same ticket. Well, isn't that excited? Two people that really I don't know much about, but they are gonna be our elected officials. So I think if they would have done this, let's say in January, the drug would have waned away from this excitement. But they did it right now, so they have time to keep the hype for about 2 more months for the baboons to show up in great numbers and vote for the figureheads. So who do you think, Bogdan, will be on the ticket on the Democrat Party? If you don't have anything else to add to the why
Yeah.
Biden will.
So actually, from the why, as far if you know why, we would also be more sure what people are going to be selected, right? Because are they going to be more favorable to what type of policies? Because let's say this guy
I
that
don't
was
think it's about policies. I
right.
think it's about personality. So if
Person.
people love Michelle Obama, they will go and vote for him, for her. If they love Kamala Harris, which they will go and vote. It's a popularity contest on looks and who they represent in a group. None of these people will say, "Well, you know what? It's abortion. Oh, it's this rights. Oh, we're gonna seal the borders." No, it's gonna be like, and that's what I think. These guys, remember, they have us to sell a product, a garbage product, to some baboons, not to some sophisticated people that, oh, let me think about that policy. No, most people look at the faces and, oh, do I identify with this person? Belongs to my group nowadays that is divided by that. And then you say, oh, she's great. Oh, he looks good. And that is the baboonish way to go to vote. It's a tiny minority, let's put it this way, that really votes based on policies. And wait a second, do I really want to vote for this guy? Like, for instance, I wouldn't have voted for any president if I go back hundreds of years, maybe, at least. But these guys were put in front of us as personalities.
I regarding this, I think that I totally agree with what you said, and I would like to add that having two very old white men in this election was not as hype as to create an identity politics. So for sure, a woman and eventually a woman of color, whatever, especially for Democratic Party, would enable them to create issues that would energize their voting base. So this is why I don't I don't see any way a male on the front ticket It should be
Me
a
neither.
female. Now, would the VP be a male, or that's a very tricky thing. I think they are polling to see, because it's a matter of marketing, to see if I put this one in there, how much votes I'm going to get, or how much votes I'm going to lose. And they can go very interesting with two women of color. They can go with a woman of color and a woman, empowered woman like
Yeah.
Whitmer and whatever, and see, I would believe that they would go all women, and maybe one of color and one white or whatever, and this will, I think this will give them the
Maybe
most.
maybe Victoria Nuland.
I'm not sure if she is at that level,
She doesn't
but
like to run for office. I think she just wants to be appointed. It's
yes,
easier.
yes, yes, and to me, they have good chances, because identity politics will work. Mass media will create a hype about this amazing historic moment. It's something life changing. So, and every baboon seems to appreciate to be in center of the universe, right? And so
Names.
this is when,
Names, Bogdan. Names. You got
yeah.
names? Tell
So
me.
so
Give me
it's
some
it's
names.
it's either Mike Obama or Kamala. I don't see any other people.
Let's talk about vice president and president.
Yeah, the
The-
president, it's only these two,
okay.
and the vice president, I think, would be the Michigan governor, most
Whitmer.
likely.
All right. Well, she said that she would play as a something in the campaign, she said co-chair or something in a campaign. So she warms herself in. Anyway, I go by possibilities and probabilities. Possibilities, what you said, I think they have 100%, obviously, and probabilities, they both have, in my opinion, uh, probability 100%. Vice president and president together, they will bring the most votes for those people. Uh, what do you think will be the outcome in November? Short, so we can go to the
Yes, yes.
next
So
thing.
to me, right? I watched all 4 days on RNC. I watched not quite every single speech, but many of the speeches, and I noticed, how to say, even when they finished, there was vincero, meaning Italian opera. So it was,
Was it Pincero
yeah,
from
yes,
Nessun Dorma?
yes, yes, yes. It was very, how to say, it was very,
Prophetic,
yeah, and even the choice of
religious.
JD Vance was okay. It's the old America kind of thing, and also it's God. There were various.
Providence, yes, yes.
There was sermons almost every hour with somebody speaking about God and whatever. So pretty much, it was, and Trump was a send of God. It was an act of God, whatever. Okay, so this seems to be a very old America, and they were really pumped. The Republicans were really pumped, and they really believe that now God is with them and whatever. So if they lose to the new America, this will be the biggest they will maybe, how there is this, when you are completely sure that you are going to win, or because everything is
I
okay,
know,
and
in
then suddenly,
2016, remember 2016? Those
yes.
guys thought, oh my God,
So,
landslide.
so I think right now it's exactly the other way. The Republicans believe that they are going to be on top, but if they lose, and especially if they lose to the new America, it's going to be a huge hit. And at that moment, they will realize that whatever mistakes they did with the wall. I just want to say one short thing. Trump, who is known by like a builder, right? He's the best as builder. Why he didn't finish the wall? Like he had 4 years to finish the wall,
He didn't have the
and
funding. His own party did not give him the funds. He had
Okay,
to take
but
$5 billion from the defense. So he took it from the military industrial complex, 5 billion, and he allocated to the wall. But his own party did not vote for him, did not support him when I think they had majority in the House. And then when they lost majority, they said, we would help you, but it's too late now. So that for baboons should show who's who, what's what in the Republican Party as well.
so to me, this would be a very red flaggish in general
You don't
because
need a
the
wall, Bogdan. You don't need a wall in the southern border. What you need some night vision, all right, and you need some laser. And with that, you use those things for anyone who would invade your country. And the baboons will communicate, and only the crazies, really crazies, would risk crossing the border. That's very, very simple. It's
yeah.
very simple. You don't need to
Okay,
build a wall, just
okay,
sensors, night
okay, but
vision,
yeah,
and
but you
boom,
see,
done.
you see, let's say because there are these two part political party which have totally different interests. The fact that if you have only uh, a policy, because what you are talking about a policy, but if you have a wall, that wall is clearly something that would be there even if the policy is not there. So in some ways, if you create a wall and it's just very very well made, even if the next, let's say the Biden came and he wanted to change the immigration, the illegal immigration policy, it would have been far more difficult if you had the wall to allow so many people in. I think that's not debatable. While with laser, I'm just telling guys, you are not using your lasers. You are just going away from the borders, and you don't control it. So in some ways, all these things that the Republicans right now are complaining about, what disaster happened in the last 4 years, they are responsible. They had the president. The president had the courage to say that he will build a wall, and they didn't build a wall. So to me, they have the very same. They are at the cause, because if the wall was finished, far less people would have entered.
You need a policy that needs to be implemented because the wall is just on certain areas. But we
Yeah.
redirected from that to, so who's winning? Who do you think?
I think it's the new America will win.
The new
The
Americans.
Democrats, the Democrats will win. Yeah.
Okay, all
they
right.
they have the mass media. They have changed the population enough, and they brainwashed in the schools and in the cities enough people who believe they are educated, and they are nice people and
Better.
understanding
Mhm.
people. And I think the Democrats, especially if they go on the new America, they will win. What do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea who could win, but I think regardless of who wins, the nuances would be very small, insignificant, because I really think that there's not the guys who are elected that are really in charge, that the second or the third tier of the bureaucracy who really, as Putin said, and I really believe it's like that. They come and tell them, buddy, sit down. We tell you how things are ran. Yeah, you were elected. You just point your fingers, smile nicely, and be tough, and we take care of stuff for us. Next topic. Next topic is the one that you coined it very nicely. It's mainstream alternative media. And mainstream alternative media, in what I could understand from our little conversation that we had regarding this, is the migration of some personalities from the so-called mainstream slash, as I call it nowadays, system operatives from the corporate media into the alternative media, which is this and others. And they were like parachuted here as being fired, and I have a few names like O'Reilly. I have some of them were fired, some of them, O'Reilly, Tucker, Megan Kelly, that guy, what's his name, Lemon, Don Lemon, and Cuomo. Just a few examples. And you know what's interesting? Why I think you're going to explain what you mean by mainstream alternative media. What's interesting, what I noticed when you mentioned that, is that all these guys who had constraints under their contract with whatever, wherever they came from Fox News, from MSNBC, CNN, once they got out, you would expect them to come swinging, with interviews, with being free to say what they really think. But no, they're deviating just a little bit from what they said in the mainstream. Like Tucker, I would expect a Tucker to invite many people and say certain things that he did not say when he had the Tucker Carlson Tonight. The same Cuomo, I don't listen to that piece of, right? But Lemon, but I heard Lemon interviewing, for instance, Musk. I heard Megyn Kelly interviewing. They didn't deviate. They're almost the same message, almost the same take. I don't believe once you're free, you have the same thing. Because when you work for a company like that, you have constraints of, on whose, let's say this is cock or balls, not to step on. So you got the floor. Tell us about the mainstream alternative media and what you saw.
My take on it is that the we live in an information era, and what is important is that we have an attention that has to be caught by somebody through advertisement, so you buy things, by somebody in politics, so you vote for whoever, so you take a certain position by taking. So pretty much, if you think from the marketing perspective, you have to see where people are spending their most time. If 20 years ago most of the time that people had would have been spent in front of the TV, then it's obvious that you would put your operatives at the TV, and you have enough control that you don't care too much if somebody has a very small radio station that is only on a certain area. Now, in the last 20 years, there are all the statistics that less and less time that people are spending on TV, and more time they are spending on internet, on various platforms, socializing, which means that if you are in control, you would want to take over that space, monetizing and influencing it. So, and what would you do? You would start to put the people that before, and the most secure, the people that may have even signed with you some contracts, or even some NDAs that don't allow them for years to take a position that is not okay. And you may even, as a Fox or as CNN, promote them and help them because they cannot take a position against you anyway. And there is another very important argument for it. Look at you, and the Durans and others. You are really alternative, but they cannot really come to you. They don't know you. It's far. What would be the channels to talk to you and tell you, you see, take this position? But with these people that already worked for them, they have connections already with them. So even if they are not all day long promoting, I see especially Megyn Kelly, how she become again big, and she is taking exactly the same position. She is not to be trusted at all. She has a certain position, and she is gaslighting people exactly as she did before. It's just that right now is on YouTube. And one of the things that the audience that watches this, be aware that right now the fact that you see on YouTube all these people and that they present themselves as, or on X. Right now, if you are on X, you are for freedom, right? Automatically, because so it's also very profitable to take this position. So now they will have controlled mass media, and they will have control in alternative media, and there will be a mainstream. And Emil and Duran will have 40,000, 50,000 views, and Meghan Kelly will have 2 millions. And the next after Megyn Kelly will have 3 millions. So they take over slowly. I'm not sure exactly what can be done about it, outside of the fact that people should be made aware, and that's why I wanted to talk about this in your show. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Well, I thought it was you see, sometimes you see some dynamics, but you maybe don't think about it too deeply, or you can't come with a term. Like, for instance, for me, when I say baboons, I think most of my friends here know exactly what a baboon is. Or if I say a weasel, people kind of know what the weasel, because I gave you guys so many examples to figure out. So in this case, with this uh, O'Reilly, I personally always disliked O'Reilly, because I thought he did not say much, was part of the establishment, and he was not very intellectual and not appealing to me, at least. I was like, why in the hell these guys over there? And he had the highest ratings. For me, it was like, Jesus Christ, what did I miss? It's so deep that I don't get it. No, no, he was a very, as you would say in Romanian, scârbos guy. Always, and I was like, what the hell? Like, I've been told, for instance, with Saturday Night Show, that comedy, I've been told here in 2001, oh, they're so funny, watch that, I mean, oh my god, you laugh. I watched and I was like, well, and I don't have a sense of humor. I guarantee you I have one. But nevertheless, the same, I've been fed with these things and my own assessment of, okay, let's not go to those guys that you want me to talk about a lot. What are their names? The so-called comedian shows. You know their names.
Yes, Seth Meyer, Paul
Alan.
Blair, all these kind of completely, but they also, it's a matter of, they look at when are people watching. So at that time, they put an operative, the way you say it, and they create this the like, even if there is zero to laugh about, whenever they say three words, let's say, let me say right,
And
and
everybody
people,
else is
yeah, yes, the creates in all the audience creates a certain getting together,
obedience
and it's
or
something funny, even if there is zero, there is almost nothing to laugh about, and they make most of the points to brainwash the people. So if we are like, I know that we talked a number of times that if I were you, I suggested to make some analysis of how many lies these guys propagate every day through these so-called entertainers, and how many people every day, millions, see these lies, they laugh about it, but
they
eventually
get.
they get it into their mind, and suddenly when they hear a certain conversation, they have the
They were
answer.
conditioned
Yeah, they
to
were
react in a
conditioned.
certain way.
Yes, and these are also very dangerous operatives. So there is the mainstream, the ma'am. Then there is these people that don't speak seriously, but they, like John Stewart. They don't speak, but they are the most dangerous, because
A
they create,
satire.
yeah. Then they create a certain thing that they are superior, right? By watching at these people, all the people that laugh in the audience, then they don't engage with the other side, because they were conditioned that the other side is so low, it's just to laugh about their position. So I think these entertainers are some of the most dangerous. And then there is the regular mainstream media, which have the experts. In there, you have 7 experts. All of them, they take the same position, and if
For
they
their
and if they allow, and they move from one to the other, but they have the same position, and then they invite one of 7 that kind of takes the other position,
fights
but
back.
always very weak arguments. So this is kind of the three, they are always developing, right? And then you are this small group, really alternative, which they will try to diminish through tech algorithms, They will try to diminish your audience.
Well, I came to this, I would say, conclusion, or I'm very much inclined, let's say 98%, to say that the mainstream media is not media in a way that to inform us. Is just controlled to control our brains into certain directions where the big interests dictate it. They're like organized in order to manipulate our way of thinking, in order to create this matrix of an attitude where we think we know but we actually don't know, but we keep quiet and we pay our taxes and don't rock the boat. So, anything else with these guys with the mainstream alternative media, or we move towards France, the
I
French?
would like to just finish what you said. Amazing. You know that I have a huge respect for Hegel,
Hmm.
and what you said there, Hegel, not in the context of politics, but in the context of ideas, said the most dangerous decisions or opinions that we form are coming for familiar thoughts, which meaning whenever you have a familiar thought, you don't judge it, you don't think about it, it's just
Embrace it. It's
it,
closer to
it's
your,
pretty
yeah.
much already an axiom for you.
Mhm.
So what this mainstream media, it's really working in this area to create a confirmation bias, and then some things become slowly familiar. So when a person like you, smart, it's really showing the other side. That's why it's so easy to put labels like racist or misogynistic or whatever, because people were already trained with familiar views of certain behaviors, and this is what these operatives are doing. They create the familiar, and everything else, it's just labeled. So and unfortunately, smart people like you and others, you will be labeled. So in some ways, some of your behavior will not be familiar, and that's where you are going to
It's going to
lose.
be analyzed. It's just going to be put in a box which was already prepared to be analyzed in a certain way. Bogdan, let's go to France. As I said on a few occasions here, uh, I will invite Bogdan to speak about the French politics because he reads about it, he watches, he knows names, he's watching programs in French, reads in French, and he's very much involved because, as I said, he is a Francophile. He reads a lot of in French literature. What I read was in Romanian, but French literature, but I don't compare with what Bogdan read. And he's very much, well, he has his own assessments. I don't know where you we want to start with. Maybe giving us an what the political establishment or the parties are in France, what are the main guys that we should look for, what happened with this sleight of the hand by Macron, what was achieved, what was not achieved with the elections, and what do you think is next? And go ahead.
The, like, to me, I know we are speaking in English right now, and one of the concerns I know, because I was speaking with various people of English descent or whatever, there isn't a love for French, right? So if I'm speaking to an English audience about France, the first thing will be, it's almost like speaking to Romanians about Hungary. There aren't many Hungarians who are Romanians that are interested. So to me, why would this be interesting for an English audience from Australia, from Canada, from United States, from Great Britain about France? Why? So I would say that France is taken over, and is taken over. Their population is replaced by a new population, and they are very far ahead far ahead of Germany, somehow far ahead even of England, and even Canada, United States, which is a country of settlers, in some ways are behind France. So if you are concerned about being replaced in any way, it's interesting to see what happens in France, and how the people, which is highly educated, France, it was a certain level of idea, and Paris was a city of where many interesting ideas went to the world. So in France, it's starting from having a definition, because they basically they say that the French, they are creolisés. So some of their politicians, they already say that French is not European, and it's not. They support this argument by going to Vercingetorix, so they create an alternative history, so it's a very interesting topic, that the brainwashing starts with rewriting of who the France nation is. And this because French are many times in front by creating ideas. This will be I don't think in England or even in Australia this idea came to them to say, actually, England is not a European, is not and France is starting from there. They would have Vive la République, Vive la France, but most of them, they will not have a definition of what French nation is. France is an idea. For them, France is an idea. And everybody that really goes with this idea of République is a French. So starting from there, you have a landscape in which the globalists are basically framing every kind of effort of French, Français de souche, the real French, that they try to defend their culture. They frame it in a situation that is not even Republican. I mean, it doesn't belong to the Republic. They are not even such an initiative doesn't even make sense, because this is not ce n'est pas la France. This is not the France. In which case you have, this is why Rassemblement National, the previous Front National de Le Pen, they are basically labeled, they are packaged as the most dangerous movement that exists. They are far extreme and whatever. And then everybody else, they work together in various scenarios. In this situation, they worked in a certain way, in another way. So this Rassemblement National, they never get to power. So they cannot make any kind of anti-immigration, illegal immigration policies. They cannot protect France, basically. And at the same time, this new, by the way, Mélenchon, who is one of the most dangerous leftist that, like, if you know French, I recommend, if you want to see a real Marxist who is a propagandist, who you don't even know who is behind him, because he's clearly amazingly dangerous. He's basically, he went to Kinshasa and he spoke to an audience in Africa, and he said, "You are the future of French culture." Yes, and we represent La France. Very crazy. They are called La France Insoumise, meaning the France that doesn't allow themselves to be like like in any put down. So basically, he represents La France Insoumise, but basically, everything that he does is to replace the French population with others. And there is such a vitriolic relationship between this left, extreme left, and the left, Rassemblement National from Le Pen, so Mélenchon and Le Pen, that every time that there is an election, if you put yourself in the center, you kind of win, because the extreme left will not vote for the extreme right. The extreme right will not vote for the extreme left. So it's enough for you to put in the middle, and they have a similar, like in England, Starmer right now took a majority with a minority vote. The same in France. They have a legislature in which the winner takes all, which means you don't have to have a majority in France to take multiple seats. So if you look, for example, right now into the legislative results from 2024,
You want me to put
Macron,
that
who
link
is
on or not? That you want that? I have here a little. I don't know if you want me to put that 577 thing yet or not.
maybe a little bit, just for people to understand how a country is
Right there.
population is replaced.
I put the. This is from the elections, Bogdan, with the 577.
Yes. And in there, pretty much that's the result of the election. And you will see that the majority of the vote was for Rassemblement National,
10
which
million.
pretty much defend the old France, but they have basically the third number of in the parliament. They are far away from a majority. They are actually the third. The first is the left, then it's Macron, and after that is Rassemblement National. And how was this done? Was something which maybe like you have a democracy that is says, okay, winner takes all. So you have the first tour, and Rassemblement National is winning in most of the locations. And what happens after that? The left, the communists, would support center and even right, and the right would support communists, just to not get Rassemblement National in. So basically what happened in the second tour, in any circumscription when Rassemblement National could win, everybody else would just drop, and they left only one counter candidate. And let's say if that counter candidate was a socialist, the right would say, vote for socialists, because the danger is Rassemblement National to take over. So is it really the way that democracy is seen? So basically, you put your voters. There were right-wingers voters voting for communists, and there were communists voting for right-wingers, just because the Rassemblement National, as I said before, is the bad thing that never should happen. And the French, I love how they know how to trick the people. They created cordon sanitaire. So what was this? Was basically it was a very patriotic, right? It was a very patriotic. They defended the republic, and we have, instead of having an election that represents the will of the people, you have behind the scene arrangements between various political actors, which were protected by the media, because the media always presented these arrangements which were crazy sometimes because the communists want completely different than they presented it as something that is the most patriotic and normal thing to do. And so in this way, we have currently still Macron at the helm with his party, even if they didn't get more than 20% of the votes, of the votes of the people that go to the. I'm not even talking about if you count the people that didn't go to voting, it's only 10%. But let's say even from the people that vote, it's only 10%, but they are still going to be in power by these things. And why I think is interesting is that these kind of things are coming to Canada, are coming to United States. The French immigration, illegal immigration, the people are extremely entitled. They start from the idea that you are colonists in Africa. Now we come here. Now it's our right. You pay because you are colonizers. So this is kind of how the whole presentation is made, and there is no pushback. There is no pushback in the media, and France will be soon the first African country in Europe. And not only is going to be African, they are going to believe they are not European, which is a very interesting thing.
We had some conversation. Actually, you talked about this. I don't know if you want to talk about it here or not. Remember, we are on YouTube, so we have to be very careful how we touch things here. You were talking about the how are they called? The French Algerians. Is that what it was? 50,000 that they migrated back, but you can have this going, and they you can have in the French in France you can have Algerian or with Algerian origin, but you wouldn't have the other way around. Or you remember you talked about de Gaulle, the great general, that you would take a poop on him, if I remember correctly, who lost actually, but he's. Do you remember the conversation? Do you want to
Yeah,
talk about more about or no?
I know very well. I know very well. The situation is, we have a very good relationship, and it's whoever you have the hero, you create a hero. If the hero is the wrong, if the Superman is Superwoman, it's a different thing, right? So creating the it's Snow White or it's Pocahontas, right? So this is how the things work in life. It's basically who do you respect, and the goal pretty much lost everything all the time, but they created, and it's an amazing for the French culture that even very respectable intellectuals, the goal, but actually the goal lost the colonies, lost their they are and basically there was at one moment in the war with Algeria, there were some French, I don't know, patriots, the generals that wanted to really win the war, and they are the bad guys. The guy that lost the war, de Gaulle, everybody is citing de Gaulle. De Gaulle is like a father figure for a country that they lost everything. They lost, like with de Gaulle, started like this. No, not like this, like this. And yes, for example, it's a very strange thing for me that they have the Pied Noir. They have almost 1 million people that lived for generation in Algeria. They are French. And because the war, they were forced to live in a few weeks go back to France. And this was right. The fact that Algeria won the war because it was a patriotic war from Algerians. And now, if you were to put the same judgment, now you have Algerians in France. it would be very right for French people to liberate themselves from Algeria and just send them back. But no, that's not, and I'm not saying that this is how it should happen. I'm just saying that here there is another concept, very important, like Superman, Pocahontas. It's colonizers. The colonizers are bad. Everything related, like even if the colonizer stays for generations in Africa or in other things, in other countries, and they worked there, they accumulated wealth. They're not by killing other people. And at one moment, from South Africa, from Algeria, they had to leave, most of them without compensation, but they are bad because they are colonizers. And French, right now, they are colonized. They are colonized, and they still don't see that they could apply the same judgment. If our Pieds Noirs were forced to leave Algeria, then these guys can be forced to leave France. But they don't even, because they are so shamed. And to me, if you were to think about France as a colonizer, the association is what means a colonizer. Because, for example, right now I came here, I work here in Canada. If somebody just say go away because you are a colonizer, I wouldn't feel good, because I said, oh, I worked here, it's my family. So the same thing, most of the people that were so-called colonizers were people like us. They weren't necessarily in the army or whatever, but they were forced to leave, and they didn't. And now this was correct. But now the fact that the Europe is invaded by these guys, this is also correct. So this double standard, and the France is going down because they have like they're, for them, patriotic.
Attitude. Mm.
It was reversed. It was reversed, and they have the wrong people that they love. And starting from there, it's like you cannot even challenge. I don't like. I think if already, if I spoke bad about de Gaulle, uh, uh, uh,
From the very
99% of
beginning,
French, of the French,
familiar
it's
thoughts
only,
thing, like
yeah,
Hegel.
it's only the Australian. All the other people would listen, but the French, if there was any French that listened to this, he couldn't listen because the goal is too big, right? And this is how you create. This is another part in which you create the idols, right? The idols in your culture, which are picked, are cherry picked, and then whatever their position was, if it's an idol, you cannot judge their position, and then you try to follow, right? And I that's what kind of I wanted to speak about France as the new way of uh, destroying from inside the perception about a nation. And I didn't see this in any other country. And if there is if people that know more about UK, or is it happening? Do you have parties that say that England is not European and whatever? I
Oh,
would be really interesting.
you were talking about Ireland with the Conservatives being Pakistani, or is that what it was? Or
It's
Scotland?
Scotland. It's
Scotland.
Scotland.
Tell us about that
Scotland.
a little bit. Now we're gonna migrate from Ireland. What was the Scott? Because it was like
But
funny,
it's the
but not
conserv.
funny.
I mean, it's both. It's conservatives and the other ones. Both they have these Pakistanis in their front, and I'm wondering if there are some values, right? Like uh, it and regardless if you are a religious person or not a religious person, there is a certain trend. Let's say in the family, in our family, if you look back, we are Christians. It's it would be very strange that suddenly for all of our clan, a guy who is Hindu starts to make the rules. because obviously it's a different culture. It will be different perspective on things. So the fact that how can you put conservative
Scottish
in,
Conservative Party, or what is it?
yes, like how can you put this, how can we, and by the way, let's laugh about UK. It was Rishi. About England, it was Rishi. Rishi was the representative of the conservatives, pretty much,
The face
right?
of conservatives.
The face of conservatives. Now in France,
Because it's about ideals like the La République, or is that what it is in
la
France?
République, la
La
République,
République or no République?
c'est une idée, c'est une idée.
Okay.
Everything is an idea, and
Je
this is where,
comprends. Is that what I say? Je comprends.
yeah, yeah, and this is where I think I just want to say something good about Vance, which I don't support or whatever, but I noticed in one of his speeches that he said, United States is a nation, is not an idea, which means that I like when people see deeper where the fight is taken place, some kind of enunciations are very important. And the fact that this Vance said this, that United States is a nation, not an idea, I said, this guy knows some stuff. This is what I wanted to say in respect for him. It's important, these kind of things, because this is how the things are moved, right? And also another thing about France, their it's their Zionist representation is amazing. Attal, prime minister. The new premier that was proposed by the
Left.
left was also Zionist. The far right, the so-called the people that defend, it was a party Reconquête. It was a Algerian Zionist. And
What's his
talk
name? Is that
Zemmour,
the
Eric
Jewish
Zemmour,
guy? Yeah, he's Jewish, isn't he?
Eric Zemmour. And now on the Socialist Party,
And he's on the right.
like on the far right, yeah, like let's say Reconquête, who would be, they are identified as Nazis almost.
But you can't, because if you're Jewish, I heard that Zelensky cannot be, because Ukraine cannot be Nazi or have Nazi elements because the president is Jewish. So it disqualifies the idea, the claim.
I know the idea is to have all, if you are Zionist, you have to be represented in all the specters, right? So you have on France, you have on the far right, then you have the socialists. You see, they are very intellectuals, right? Even if they never go into a debate with a really smart person, but they are intellectuals. And on the Socialist Party, somebody just shown, Glucksmann, he barely speaks.
What was the name?
Glucksmann, yeah. And
Kosman?
so they have this guy, and then they have the center Attal. And by the way, Attal, so they have left, right, center, and Attal is presented as the
Moderate?
the next president after Macron. So that's another very interesting thing in France. Maybe this is why they cannot defend themselves, because media is taken over by Léa Salomé and by other people, the same
spectrum.
Of the same spectrum, yes, and then they cannot defend, because currently there is the whole immigration, and the illegal immigration reached, I think, 15 millions or something. So if this continues this way, the French will be changed in such a way. There is the so-called droit de sol, means that you can receive and there are at various time during the history, there are votes in which some people are allowed citizenship. So now the number of illegal immigrants is so big that if in the next 2 years le droit de sol is given to the next 10 millions, the French is forever changed. So this
And
is
what's the
why,
population? 62, 65? What's
yeah,
the
kind of
population?
like this. So this is why these elections were so important. They know the same is here, the new America. There
So
will
this
be
is
a
like
moment.
a case study for the
Uh,
Westerners.
yes, yes. So pretty much in United States, if they win one or two more time and they give le droit de sol, the population is so changed that there is no way you defend la vieille France, the old France. There is no way you defend the old England. So there is a stake here, regardless of economic, or even if these people are puppets, there is still a very important thing, that the population is changed, and that's something that it's important, I think, regardless.
I think with the natality, with uh, the replacing rate and families of immigrants in general, which is more than 2.1, the fertility rate, it's irreversible. If you have in a population, let's say 10%, and they have a fertility rate, I don't know, like 5 or 4, and the other ones have 1 as an average, with time, the 10% will become 20%, will become 30%, 40%, plus the immigration. That's why the Nordic states in Europe, I think they're already doomed, and the United States of America and others, if they are to maintain a certain kind of culture. But as we know, that if you would replace, let's say, the Americans as they are, let's say, with the Mexicans, this country will be as good as it would be with the current population, correct? Or if you bring here the Romanians only and we take the American current population, this country will go its natural course with or without the current population. This is how the garbage is pushed onto us. Bogdan, we're heading towards the end of this video. Do you have any last thoughts before I?
Yeah, I think at least in the program, Republican Party took some very important positions regarding mass deportation, and if you combine this with Orban, you see, Orban was the only leader that was mentioned during the Republican convention in a number of things, and Orban has one of the measures regarding the demographic. That's where I want to go. They have such a policy that if a woman has 3 children,
Oh yeah, they
she
give money.
she will
And the Russians
she
too.
will she will not pay any tax until the end of her life. So there are ways. There are ways. That's why they are so
The Russians are doing
unhappy.
the same thing. They give
I,
incentives
I'm not. Yeah,
for.
but I'm not sure. But I know about Orban.
They will
So
not
so
give Putin as an example at the RNC. We know that one.
no. So eventually there is a way to support natality. Exactly as you go into the street and you enforce some laws, and everything is with money. If I don't pay anything, I will do a lot, many things that I don't care, right? But you put a camera, a speeding camera, and suddenly I receive a $100 from a
Fine.
photo, which I,
Hmm.
yeah, and I'm driving slower. So I think that a civilization that is well organized establishes the priorities based on the dangers and of the challenges. And if the challenge is a demographic challenge, you support demography. It's not that difficult. It's not at all that difficult. And we will talk about another time about how much money is going into paying stupid debt on whatever, and how much if you lower the debt, how much programs could be made, not necessarily to support the poorest, but support the people that give birth, and support the new generation. So there are ways, if and we can look at numbers And it's very simple to move from supporting this amount of people that change your culture, support these people with incentives to live. So I don't see that the thing is lost, but I see that whatever happens in France is very interesting, and it's a lesson where the things can go wrong. And if the France is cannot save themselves, there are other countries that can. That's my message.
Okay, well, this is a long video, but not a long conversation for us. Bogdan and I, whenever we meet or we speak over the phone, we have lengthy conversations regarding many, many topics. Many topics that we cannot share with you, unfortunately, because you can't speak the truth, unfortunately. But maybe one day we're going to meet in person, all of us, and maybe we will be allowed to really speak the truth. Well, thank you very much, Bogdan, for being back here with me, and we're going to do this more often from now on. And we have to make sure that we use the right words. Thank you very much, Bogan. Guys, thank you very much for being with us today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.